So guys, I'm gonna give you something that you can later share with people, and it's a blog post, but this blog post has so much stuff in it that I don't think people read it, but there is a lot of cool stuff in it. So that's why I want to show it to you. This resource is one of my first blog posts that I prepared. It's called 10 Best Pathology Resources for Tissue Image Analysis. And I have updated this yesterday for you with all the links are working, and you can have this as a go-to resource. You can have it to share with people if you're working on something, and it's basically like a mini version of the course that we went through, and it is publicly available, but it's kind of a hidden resource, and I wanted to walk you through this, and that's what this bonus session is about. So to have background for tissue image analysis, I collected 10 resources for you, and they are divided into sections that you will later find, or that you already found before in the course, but here I collected additional resources, additional videos that I found for you. So this is like a collection. So we have pathology workflow, we have H&E staining and general tissue understanding, we have IHC and IHC scoring guidelines, and a little more about tumor microenvironment. So pathology workflow. You have pathology workflow, and there is a video that is going to take you through all the steps, through fixation, dehydration, infiltration, embedding, sectioning, and staining. And all those videos are embedded here. So I have found them for you. And actually, I have identified gaps on YouTube. So I'm going to be making more videos for you about this. So for example, this is going to walk you through the whole process. And the other one, the Introduction to Digital Pathology, Introducing the Workflow and Challenges, it's a lecture by Amit Tizush. I don't know if you've heard about him, but probably you have if you're active in the digital pathology space. He used to be at Chemia Lab in Canada. Now I think he's working at the Mayo Clinic in the US. And oh my goodness, this guy, when he explains, you understand. And I was looking for a short video for you about the digital pathology workflow, including what's happening with the slide from scanning to image analysis, and what are all the challenges, what are the steps, like when is there manual QC, when is there automatic QC, how far are we with this automatic QC. There is no video like that, so I'm gonna make a video like that, but this one is gonna give you a great overview as well. So these are just clickable videos that I'm not gonna show you because you can do it on your own. Now, understanding of H&E. We went through H&E in the course, but we didn't go through like all the organs and all the exact structures. And I think I mentioned this YouTube channel by Dr. Minarsik, and he has this fantastic YouTube series called Shotgun Histology. What he's gonna do here, I'm gonna show you. He basically goes through everything that's in the slide, and he shows you this for every organ. This is like a histology book in 3 to 5 minute videos. And his goal here is to have this like a shotgun histology, so that whichever pixel or whichever spot on this slide you would hit with the shotgun, you know what would be on this slide. So we touched a little bit on this. I was explaining stuff, but he basically, with this series on digital slides or on images, he explained all this stuff. And you can see here that there is skin, there is cartilage, there is whatever that is, I don't know, this is bone, and you have all those histology videos. So whichever tissue you're going to start working with, you can just go there and you can bookmark this blog post. I decided to make a Google Doc where I have all the links to recordings, to everything, like my personal resource page, but this is a resource blog post. So whichever new organ you guys are going to be working with, you can go to this. I taught histology to myself with this and retaught it, and every time there is something need to describe in more detail, I go to those videos, and they were made 15 years ago, and they're like so timely because this science didn't really change since 15 years ago on a microscopic level. We did gain more understanding on a sub-microscopic level, electron microscopy and proteins and all the other methods that we know, but microscopy is the same, and he's explaining this in a fantastic way. PathPresenter, you guys are more than familiar with PathPresenter by now. If you're following my social media channel, you will see in the coming weeks a couple of more PathPresenter videos vertical from my vertical screen. So PathPresenter, an invaluable resource. They revamped the site. The site looks a little different now. It looks better. So we were using mostly this slide library. You can upload your slides, including picture, my slide box. For free subscription, there is a limit to upload those slides. You can make presentations, so you can have an online presentation with slides embedded in it. We didn't really use this functionality. And one thing that's super cool are those high yield cases, because slide library is just a repository of everything. You've seen that we could click on the diagnosis and see some information. Let me show you. Oh, and they have some new images I've seen yesterday when I was preparing this for you. So here, this eye, you have some information. You don't have too much clinical info, and that's it. But if you go to the high yield cases, they have different societies that donated their slides and the explanation of those slides. So this is like very targeted. So let's see, breast pathology, and you know who the editors are, and you can click on them, enter breast pathology, and you have the cases. And those cases are a lot higher yield than what I was showing you for demonstration purposes. You have all the same functionalities. You have the annotation tool. You can take a picture. You can do whatever. Oh, you can switch off this navigator. See? But you have a better case info. So you can go in this case. So let's say, I don't know, you're working on breast tumors, right? For image analysis. You go there and you have the diagnosis. You have the microscopic features, and not only this, it's gonna take you to those features. This is so cool. This is like amazing cool. So you can see that if you put it in a blog post, you don't really do justice to those resources. And only showing is, no, they say sharing is caring, but showing is caring too. So you can basically have all those diagnostic features, and this is like an interactive version of what we have seen in the WHO books, and this is more user-friendly than the WHO books, I have to say. So this is PathPresenter, IHC, and IHC scoring guidelines. So obviously a big part of tissue image analysis world is evaluating IHC. And now it's, you know, multiplex or IF or whatever. Everything that is immunohisto something can be quantified because you have this very contrasting signal in the tissue, which is fantastic for tissue image analysis, a lot better to work with than H&E, even though now the whole world is trying to mine H&E slides. But IHC is still a super cool thing to do image analysis on, and also necessary for diagnostics. So we have IHC module in the course. So here is a little bit of basics. So this is a tutorial by Leica. They, of course, produce all kinds of equipments for IHC, all kinds of reagent as well, reagents. This is the basics. Something that I would recommend everyone that is starting, if you have a colleague that's joining your lab and you have to teach him anything, just send him to this blog post. And this person here has a channel, YouTube channel, Shomus Biology. This channel is blowing my mind because according to all the YouTube trendy standards, that's not it. His videos, he stands in front of a whiteboard or explains something like a rudimentary video setting. He has 1.8 million subscribers, and this is the best person on YouTube to explain biology concepts. So I don't know if I mentioned this to you. When I was studying for my board certification, there's a section general pathology, and general pathology is all the processes that are happening in the tissue that cause later the tissue to look a certain way. So general pathology would be a lot of biochemistry, like what's happening when there's necrosis, what's happening when there is apoptosis, like what happens to the histones, and very much cell biology on molecular level. And that was difficult for me. And I was reading the book Corton and Robbins, and I was falling asleep. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna fail. So I started looking for videos. That was 2016 was the first time, and then I had another try 2017, and then I passed. But the general pathology part, it was a separate part, and I passed it at the first attempt with this guy's videos. So let me just play this one just to show you. This is how he presents. And like when you're a YouTuber, you're like, what's this light? What's this sound? and you don't hear it, but if you click on it, you will. But basically, this guy is the ultimate teacher. Oh my goodness. Whenever you have a couple of minutes of time, or whenever you're encountering something from the biology space that you want to have explained, like really bulletproof explanation, layman explanation at a super high level. So this was enough for me to pass my board certification part. It's not just, you know, some little video tutorial where they say, oh, there is an antibody and then it sticks here and then that's it. No, he explains it really, really well. And I cannot be grateful enough for this YouTube channel. If not for him, I would fail at general pathology. And this is the best website for any pathology outlines, the CD markers section, for any IHC marker that has ever been used in the diagnostic pathology. So let's access this web page. I'm going to show you. This page has been around since, they say, since 2001. And it kind of looks as if it still was 2001 in the internet space, but don't be deceived by that. This is a freaking amazing, crazy resource. And I will have the founder of the site, Dr. Nat Pernick, on the podcast soon. So when I was working as a 100% digital pathologist at the tissue image analysis company where I was working, we would always get those different markers from different pharma companies that they were doing some exploratory work. I was like, oh, I have no idea what these markers are. Don't worry, you don't have to have an idea, and they come up with different markers. So if you have never heard of this protein, you go to this page, stains, in this blog post, and you can find every freaking stain on the planet that is being used for diagnostics and often for research as well. But you were asking at some point, oh, how do I know if it should be expressed in the membrane, in the cytoplasm, in the nucleus? Here, you're gonna see it. And here you're gonna have, and this is Dr. Nat Pernick, he made this website. So here, it looks like textbook because that's what he says this website is. It's like an online textbook. But again, don't be deceived. The information is there. So you can have, you see the definition. This is a member of this P53 gene family. Okay. And you already see that this is a myoepithelial marker. So it's going to be in the myoepithelial cells, but also smooth muscle and wherever, right? Pathophysiology, what it does, interpretation, typically a nuclear stain. So it already is going to tell you the IHC interpretation. So if you get this stain as a membrane stain, you know something went wrong during IHC. And here also it can be cytoplasmic stains of Z-bands of benign and malignant skeletal muscle tumors. So if you are looking at a skeletal muscle tumor and you have it in the cytoplasm, that's okay. But if you're looking at something else and are analyzing P53 somewhere else, then it should be a nuclear stain. And then you're going to say, when is it used by pathologists? So this is the diagnostic part that's going to be super valuable for you. And here you're going to have images of this. So these are static images, but basically, let's check this one. You see that it's in the nuclei, and this is how it should look. Is there any background? Not really any background. This is like perfect, but you can see, obviously, whichever IHC picture online you will be looking up, for example, we have other resources as well, but whichever companies that sell antibodies, they often give pictures, how it looks. It's gonna look like the most perfect. It's the same principle as a publication images. You pick the best image. You don't show like the whole spectrum. You pick the best image. So you will know that this is the best image, and you will have here other appearances of this. So this you can basically do for every marker that's listed here. So breast, there should have ER. There is ER, right? So you're gonna have here how it looks. This is supposed to be so intense nuclear staining. Really? Okay. So it's also nuclear stain, and here cytoplasmic stain is typically considered a negative result. So for whatever you guys have for IHC, diagnosis or research or image analysis, this is the place where you can find it on pathology outlines. So there is a lot more on this website than these stains, but for image analysis work, I found this to be the most useful section. So that's why I put this in our blog, and you can access it here or bookmark the page as well. So DAKO and AGILENT Stain Atlas. This is something that I found a couple of years ago. So the first version of this post was when I started the blog, which was 2018 or 19. So yesterday I went through all the links, checked if they were working. Not all of them were working, unfortunately. So let's not take the internet resources for granted. I have to update it. But I found, and this link, for example, disappeared, but I found it in a different place. So what I recommend you, so at the time of making this video, all the links are working and all the resources are there and updated. But in case it's not the case anymore, what I was doing yesterday, I was basically copying this and not clicking the link, but just copying the text and just doing a Google search on it. And then it found me other places where this resource was available. And when it was not available anymore, then I had to switch the resource. This is an atlas of 100 stains, many stains. So you basically have a PDF of, and here you have the list from A to Z. There is even the marker with Z, with how those stains should look. I assume these are antibodies that are made by AGILENT technologies. So this is like a proprietary resource for how their antibodies should look like. But their antibodies should not be too different from other antibodies if we're targeting the same thing in the cell. So here you will have pictures and descriptions of how things should look. So that's another thing. So this, you can basically go there and download it and have it forever for yourself. So I would recommend you do that. And this DAKO AGILENT Atlas, yeah, so 120 pages, 100 antibodies. And another thing that is also you're going to come across in tissue image analysis is pathology IHC scoring guidelines. And this is a world of its own. Why is it a world of its own? Because for every marker, not only for every marker, there are different scoring guidelines. Also for especially for those markers that are then being used as companion diagnostic tests. So HER2, ER/PR, PD-L1, I think Ki-67 has a pretty uniform way of scoring, but there are different ways you score this. And for companion diagnostics, so for example, the most commonly used biomarkers include PD-L1, HER2, ER, PR, yeah, the ones that I mentioned. Good. At least I halfway know what I'm talking about. But let's take PD-L1 as an example. PD-L1 is an example I worked with when I was full-time doing image analysis, and we were trying to figure out a better way to score it, better way than visually. So what happens with PD-L1, you can see that here is Ventana, Roche Ventana, some PharmDx, and these are different clones from different companies. And not only this, we have non-small cell lung cancer. Oh, the interpretation of this marker is different for non-small cell lung cancer than for urothelial carcinoma. Fantastic. And then this is urothelial carcinoma, but it is a different clone. So here it was SP142. Now this one is SP263. So the interpretation is different. This is crazy, but don't be intimidated by that. You have to know which clone you're working with and if there is a specific scoring that you're trying to emulate with image analysis, because all these different clones are companion diagnostic is a test that's kind of attached to a drug. So if you want to check if the patient is going to benefit from this drug, you do this very particular test because this has been proven in clinical trials. So let's say there are several different drugs on the market from different companies that are targeting this molecule. And depending on the drug, you take a different test. And depending on the test, you have a different scoring system. So what could be the differences? For example, evaluating PD-L1 just in the tumor cells versus also immune cells, having a cutoff where something is positive or negative at a different level, for example, 1% or 10% positive cells, depending on the drug. So it is a little complex, but I put together all those resources for you. So many of them are PDF guides, and manuals, but there is one training program you can register here. So it's a free one. And this is for this particular clone, I guess, from PharmDx. If that's what you're working with, this is where we're gonna go, and all those resources are here. So one time I was still in Germany, I went to a pathologist meeting for MD pathologists where they were kind of training pathologists how to score it. And every time I have this experience, like you're trying to have somebody trained to visually score stuff in the same way, it's physiologically not possible. So of course, around the cutoff positivity or negativity of some IHC staining, I think it was PD-L1 scale one was 10%. So around the cutoff, you would have just 50 split of the pathologists who would say this is positive or this is negative. That means that like 50% of those people who should get it maybe didn't get it, or the other way around. That's why we need image analysis. I am a very big fan of image analysis, if you haven't noticed. That's why I have a course on pathology for image analysis. And we have the same for HER2, ER, PR, and Chi67. You can find all those guidelines and how to score this. So that's that. For whoever is doing IHC, these are your go-to resources. You can find everything you need there, because how do I know that? Because I found everything I needed there. And now we have tumor microenvironment. So we had a full session on this, and I think I already shared this podcast with you where Elfriede Nussner, she is a professor that does tumor microenvironment for a living. She had this podcast episode, so you can go and listen to this one. But there's also a lecture, separate lecture, a Coursera lecture on tumor microenvironment. And I checked, and this lecture is basically available. They will ask you to sign or enroll for free. That's nice as well. But you can basically play this lecture, and this is just a couple of minutes. So everything we talked about in nice detail, it's just, I think, a 6-minute video, but really nice explanation of tumor microenvironment. So that's that. That's the bonus section for you with all the resources. You can bookmark this post or download whichever resources. So for example, if you are doing IHC work, everything that's a PDF, I would just download and make an IHC scoring guidelines folder, because there is danger that you're going to take it down. I had to significantly update this resource. And my friends, that was our last session. But it's not the last time you're going to be hearing from me, because I am still trying to set up a regular type of meeting. So we have the group in LinkedIn, but it's not that friendly for a community, I have to say. And Facebook is like thing of the past. So I'm looking for a new way to gather all of you and future course participants into some kind of app where we can ask each other questions. It's going to be pretty exclusive. It's going to be just for those people who go through this course, who actually, invest in this type of professional development. I'm exploring an app called Volley, which is asynchronous video message app where we can have threads for different questions, where you can pop up, ask questions, and then I can answer those questions in a video form, ad free, and something you can have on your phone as well, and accessible whenever, when you're in the lab and want to ask something. And I'm using Loom as well for videos, but it doesn't really have this, I don't know, I'm exploring. I do a lot of different things. So I do Loom as well for tutorials and things like that. Don't be surprised if you receive an invite from me for some strange app that you haven't heard of. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to record a Loom and let you know what that is and how we can interact with this. I want to have something for you where, you guys have access to me whenever you need it, because I very much appreciate you. I had a lot of fun. If you liked it, I would love to get some kind of testimonial from you. So I'm going to send an email out. If you could write me a couple of nice words about what was good for you in this course, what did you benefit from most, and that will help me spread the word to our new students, and that will help me grow this community. So that's that. And you guys have a wonderful day.